When the train entered the tunnel, everyone in my carriage suddenly died. At least, that's what I thought. Because when the train came out of the tunnel, everyone was still sitting in their seats. They just weren't moving anymore, and their eyes were completely black. My name is Ethan. That night, I boarded the midnight train departing from Blackwood. It was well past midnight. Heavy rain poured outside as the train slowly made its way through the dark mountains. I was sitting in the fourth carriage. Everything seemed normal. A mother was smiling at the baby in her arms. An old man was reading a newspaper. A few young people were quietly talking among themselves. I took my medication out of my pocket. One pill fell into my palm. I stared at it for a moment. Then I put it back. Lately, there had been nights when I didn't want to take my medication. That night was one of them. A few minutes later, the train entered a long tunnel. The lights went out at once. In the pitch-black darkness, all I could hear was the sound of the wheels grinding against the tracks. Then the train came out of the tunnel. The emergency lights flickered on, and everyone was dead. The woman was still holding her baby. The old man was still holding his newspaper. The young people were still sitting there, staring at each other. But none of them moved. Their skin had turned ash gray. Their eyes were completely black. Hey, my voice was shaking. Can somebody tell me what's going on? No answer. I stepped closer. I looked at the woman's baby. It wasn't moving either. Then the woman's head tilted slightly to one side. I stepped back. I ran into the third carriage. The moment I opened the door, I felt sick. Enormous masses that looked like human bodies covered the seats and the floor. Some of their faces were still recognizable, but I couldn't tell where one body ended and another began. They had melted into each other. They didn't move. Only the black eyes buried inside those faces watched me. One of the faces looked strangely familiar. For a second, I thought it was my mother. I blinked. The face had changed. I didn't know who it was anymore. I kept running. I entered the second carriage. The people here looked completely normal. Men, women, old people. Every one of them looked at me at exactly the same time. Then they spoke together.
What happened?
What happened?
Are you okay?
What happened? What happened?
Are you okay?
What happened? What happened?
Are you okay?
Are you okay?
What
Are
happened?
you okay?
Are you okay?
I don't know. They stood up, one by one.
What happened?
What happened? What happened?
Are you okay?
Are you okay?
What happened? Are you okay?
What
Are you
happened?
okay?
Are you okay?
I stepped backward. Don't come any closer. What happened? Are you okay? Their voices were identical. The same tone, the same rhythm. It sounded like hundreds of people speaking with a single voice. I pushed through them and ran. I entered the narrow passage between the carriages. The light above me flickered. When it came back on, I saw two bodies. They were frozen inside blocks of ice. One stood on each side of the passage. Their purple skin was almost transparent. Their mouths were stretched into horrible, frozen smiles, and both of them were looking directly at me. The light went out, then came back on. One of the bodies was closer. The light went out again, then came back on. Now the other one was closer too. I ran toward the engine room. I threw the door open. The room was warm. It smelled faintly of engine oil and freshly brewed coffee. Standing in front of the control panel, with his back turned toward me, was a train conductor wearing a neat navy blue uniform.
Easy, son.
He said calmly. still facing away from me.
You look like you've seen a ghost. Are you all right?
I collapsed onto the floor, drenched in sweat. The other carriages, the frozen bodies, the people, something's wrong with them. I think I'm losing my mind. The conductor walked over to a small counter, poured himself a steaming cup of coffee, and held another one out to me without turning around.
Take a deep breath. Night journeys can play tricks on the mind.
He paused.
Do you take medication?
I took the coffee with trembling hands. I took my antidepressant before I boarded. I stared down at the cup. I think that's what's causing this. I'm hallucinating, aren't I? Silence filled the room. The steady grinding of the train's wheels echoed beneath us. Then the conductor slowly turned round. He looked human, but his skin was as pale as a corpse. He had no eyes. Where his eyes should have been were two perfectly black, bottomless hollows. It looked as if his eyes had been ripped out, leaving nothing behind but two empty pits. He fixed those dark sockets on me. Then, in a cold, emotionless voice, he said,
You're lying, Mr. Ethan. You didn't take your medication tonight.
The coffee cup slipped from my hand, crashing to the floor and shattering into pieces. And the train began to accelerate into the darkness of another endless tunnel.